In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what you have overlooked, forgotten when it comes to healing your inner child. Firstly, before I get into the details, if you're going through your healing journey, your spiritual journey, please hit that subscribe button so that I can empower you throughout your healing journey and spread my message as far as possible. So when it comes to healing our inner child wounds, what humans often do is we intellectualize things. We go about it in a logical way. We often think if we do that course, read that book, get this, get that, then we're finally going to be able to heal. And we always just use the logical mind, because what is happening here is your ego is trying to just take control of this situation. So we just try to use books and knowledge to heal, to get us out of our inner child wounds, and that's only going to take you so far. And the thing that you may have forgotten to do and you've overlooked is holistically looking at this, taking it from a whole mind, body and soul, spirit level. So as humans, what we often like to do is use logic, use reasoning and intellectualize everything. We tend to think that if I get that next book, buy that next course, it's gonna heal me, it's going to get me out of my inner child wounds. And what we do is just take in information rather than doing the practical steps or going about it on a deeper level. Because when it comes to inner child wounds, your beliefs, trauma, that it goes quite deep, and just using the logical part of our brains, thinking our way out of it and thinking a book is going to heal us, is just being quite naive. We're not taking this from a whole mind, body and spirit, soul. That is the one thing that we often overlook when it comes to healing inner child wounds. And all we're doing is using the mind. We are not healing it on a bodily level. We're not healing it from the soul. We're not healing it spiritually. And so what we're doing is just constantly intellectualizing it and reading and doing all of these logical, masculine things to help us overcome our inner child wounds and believe that just reading a book is going to heal us. So we overthink and forget that when it comes to healing inner child wounds, we have to go deeper. And if we have deep generational trauma, deep generational wounds that we are breaking the cycles of, then we have to go deep. We have to take the mind, body, soul approach. This is something that I've struggled with, because for me, I have a lot of masculine wounding. My father wasn't around in my life from the age of 10 to 17, well, up to probably from the ages of 10 to when he died a few years ago. I saw him twice, and then under the age of 10, a handful of times, and he wasn't around. He was a drug addict, and all with other like sexual abuse from a teenager. And so I have a deep masculine wound. And what often happens when you have a deep masculine wound is you're unable to trust the masculine, but also trust the divine masculine. Trust the big father in the sky, this father sky and mother earth. And we find it hard to trust and let go and just be in that and being held by the masculine. And for me recently, what has come up for me during the lunar eclipse, I think it was at the beginning of May, what really came up for me and what healed for me was deep spiritual masculine wounds. I was so deeply wounded by the masculine, I was shutting away anything to do with masculinity in spirituality. Anything to do with like Yeshua, any divine masculine archetypes, ascended masters, I was shutting them away out of my life because one, oh my God, that's religion. I know I was very indoctrinated with religion at a young age, but that wasn't for very long anyway. But so I was shutting out all of that aspect, and a big shift happened for me when I began to look into the teachings of Yeshua, the hidden teachings. And if you're wondering who Yeshua is, I'm referring to Jesus. So for me, what happened when I began to accept that into my life, that accept that divine aspect of spirituality, the divine masculine aspect of spirituality, I felt a union deep within my soul. I shit you not. And it was like a harmony and a union between the masculine and feminine energies within me on a deep spiritual level. And now I no longer shut that away, and I allow myself to pray to the God, Goddess. And now I feel from that aspect, I have healed a spiritual aspect of me, because I so often would shut away anything masculine because of my deep own father wound. And that trickled down into the divine masculine, whether that's a divine masculine in relationships, whether that's divine, like the Father Sky, all of that. It just kind of felt like it crumbled, and I felt like a huge union within me, and I felt balanced. And so this is the thing when it comes to like wounds, inner child wounds, it's not just about intellectualizing it. We can't just read a book out of our wounds. We have to do the actual work, but also know that it goes deep on a spiritual level and a body level. And we often always forget that if there's a big story, a big belief, a big wound that you're replaying over in your head, because we're constantly intellectualizing it, thinking it in our head, even though when we remember it, it's never the original memory. So because we're always thinking it, we're just intellectualizing it. And if there's a big memory there, a big story, the story gets stored in the body. The emotional body remembers, the nervous system remembers that. So when we are doing inner child work, we've got to remember to do it on a somatic level. When I'm referring to somatic, I mean body. The body holds emotions because the nervous system runs through the body. And when we have experienced big T trauma, little T trauma, whatever you describe your inner child wounds as, we go into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and the amygdala, that's the amygdala in the brain, sending the signal to the body. And if we haven't been able to integrate that, process the emotions that came up for us in that moment, what our bodies do is actually store that. And there are certain places in the body that actually hold certain times of trauma, certain emotions and certain feelings. So if you have chronic pain that you don't understand why, this could be a sign at some point you were not able to be with your feelings and process them, and then integrate it back into your body, and you're finally regulated again. The thing here is we always often forget to do it on a body level. We think we can just visualize our healing our inner child, which that does work because I've had mystical experiences with my inner child, deep in meditation, from visualization. But we've got to come down from the head into the heart, into the body, and release the stored emotions that get stored. And we can do this by movement. There are particular somatic exercises that you can do to help shift and move that energy through the body. You can dance. You can connect to your womb space more. That's where a lot of emotions and trauma get stored, particularly for women, in the pelvis, in the hips. And yoga is another really good one to help get stored emotions out of the body. So when we are moving the body, that means the energy, the emotion is going through the body and is able to release it a bit better, and the nervous system is able to come back into a regulated state. And sometimes this means just being with the emotion, being with the feeling in the body. We have to be with that feeling. And for me, I have a lot of pain on my right side, and I was just saying that I have masculine wounds. I allow myself to feel that pain and bring awareness to it and be mindful, because that's the other thing we can do with our bodies, is actually just bringing awareness into our bodies. Become really present and be mindful. Scan our bodies and see where any tension may be held, because I've noticed one thing about myself is I clench my butt quite a lot unconsciously, and it's only until I'm aware, I'm like, why am I tensing my ass so hard? And then I relax, and every time I notice myself doing it, I just relax and I come into presence, and I tell myself that I'm safe, because it's your nervous system and your body wanting to remain safe just as much as the ego trying to keep you safe. So with that all being said, please check out this video next, where I talk about shadow work and enjoying your life again. So until then, I will see you over there on the next video. Much love.